everybody. It's the Aces AFL Show, and we are joined by one of the most electrifying players to ever play the game, Daisy Thomas, and the most sophisticated man and well-dressed, Mitchie Wallace in the building. Boys, it is great to be back. There's plenty of footy to talk about. How are we doing?
I'm doing well, thank you, Tommy. Mitch, great to be alongside you again. The footy at the moment is unbelievable. There are performances everywhere that we are just loving. Sides that are really starting to go up and shoot the lights out, and some others that I think we could almost start to draw a line. I can't wait. What do we got? 2 more weeks to some more power rankings?
I was just about to say, when are the power rankings popping back up?
Yeah, what do we before round 12?
Round 12.
Does that work? Yeah, every 6 weeks.
They're going well, and your team, the Suns, are flying. You're going to look like a genius at the end of the year.
Thank you.
So will Wal, because I went through some of our TikTok content, Surprise All Australian, and Bailey Smith was a man that Wal mentioned. I think I said Chapman from Fremantle, so I might need to have a little look at myself.
You need to broaden your horizons.
And you had Adam Chera, so he probably has need a little bit more work. But Bailey's been outstanding, and it's a big week for him.
Welcome to you, Days. Welcome, Tom. Good afternoon. I might say hello to everyone first before we get stuck into it. But no,
the Prime Minister's joining us.
That's a news out of Canberra.
No, but I'm great to be here. And as you said, there's so much going on in the footy landscape, whether it's performances, it's clubs, it's hot topics, it's umpiring. There's so many layers to it at the minute. We're round 11, so we're right in the thick of it. Teams have had the chance to prove themselves as form rises and form slumps. There's so much going on. I'm excited to talk about it. You said Bailey Smith. Off the top of the show, it's going to be a massive week for Geelong and Bulldogs. We're going to talk a lot about the Bulldogs today because they are in some sort of form. There's going to be fireworks. But yeah, happy to be here and look forward to a good show.
The biggest talking point again is the propeller went down.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
I'll put my hand up this week because I set the tone and I failed. Stengel, I must say, I did say on the podcast, I'm leaning Jezza, I'm leaning him. Jezza kicked 7. That was a slap in the face. But the ball...
Excuses, Dale.
I've never heard a man. I've never heard a man. The ball was living. I picked the right game. The ball was living in their forward line, and I couldn't believe he kicked 1 goal, and I think he missed the sticks completely in the last quarter. I thought I nearly got it over the line. St. Bernard's got their job done. But you boys just try hide behind the fact that you're ice cold. Can we? I mean, I know that it was all over leg 1, but geez, you guys are just ice cold on the propeller. Any chance?
Yeah, you go, Dale.
No, I was just saying, I was working on the Sunday when North Melbourne were playing their game of footy, and I looked up, and at quarter time, it was 6 goals straight, and I was sitting there, I was like, oh, geez, I better flick the AFL app. And I saw that the big zoo had all of them, and Larky was yet to be sighted. I kept scrolling, see if he was injured. Couldn't get near it. Genuinely could not get near it.
He started the 4th quarter and kicked his 2nd.
Yeah.
And I was going, oh, no, that meant that, in the Brisbane game, just started and Archie kicked the 1st, I think. So I went, oh, no, I'm handing out flyers. And in the end, the boys didn't kick another one.
Gassed it. No, they gassed it. Well, Callum only ended up with 5 touches for the game. He's had 1 in the 1st quarter. But then that was true to what Brisbane's form was. They fell off a cliff a bit and got overrun. So, yeah, disappointing. I thought we're off to a fly, though. A goal in the 1st, and I'm like, happy days, but no good.
Yeah, you guys were. Anyway, we're going to hit the reset button, and I'm going to have to put St. Bernard's onto the Profit Propeller graveyard. But before we go, I mean, how are we going, right? We can't hit a propeller, and we're going to hit it soon. And
4 legs.
4 legs, $2. We've got a punter at PointsBet that has put $10. Guess how much he's turned that into?
$500,000.
$467,950.41. A punter out there has turned $10 into $500,000.
This is paid out.
This has been paid out a winner on the UFC.
UFC leg multi.
I can't believe what I'm reading. $467,000 of $10. And we can't turn $1,000 into 20, boys. Like, what are we doing?
And this is this has come out. This has to be true. I remember when I was doing the odds for PointsBet on the horse racing, if you disclosed a big bet, you can't just make this crap up. This has to have happened. So $10 into $467,000. You know what it tells me? We're not going enough legs. We're 6 legs short. Imagine if it's, and congratulations to the Riddles Creek who've just won $500,000.
Wow. I'm pretty sure
we'd be kicked out of the joint.
It was 9 legs. I won't go into the details, but it was a $10, $460, $550, $225. Oh my God, it's amazing. So yeah,
what do you do? You win. What's the first step?
So we asked this person to join the show, and they didn't want to join, and they don't want anyone to know. So I think they've just secretly pocketed 460,000 and gone under the radar. So can you imagine your mate who rolls in dressed like Daisy or I and then all of a sudden looks like Wal the next day? You'd be going, what's going on
It's
here?
the classic meme. If I win lotto, you won't know, but there will be signs and you're walking in a Mick jacket with a parrot on your shoulder and a Ferrari.
Would you guys tell everyone?
Yeah. Depends how much it was. There'd be a few more zeros added to that before we start celebrating. But
Well, I was like, that'd be a really nice case of wine.
467.
I'd
That's
pay
his
the
monthly
interest bill for
paycheck.
this month.
Is that your monthly paycheck? But anyway,
let's be honest. $10. That's a great multiple. So I'm not going to steal the line on that.
What $46,000 the odds were, and 795. That is the best bet I've ever seen in my life.
I agree.
So well done to the punter out there that won that, and hope
fantastic.
you're doing some damage. Speaking of odds, Bailey Dale had 49 on the weekend, and PointsBet had him up for $31 for 40 plus. So if just maybe one of us could pluck a exotic market and put that on that propeller, that'd be nice, wouldn't
I'm going to start. This might be my tactic. At the minute, I'm going for the $2 because I like a lot of things there about $1.85, and most of those are saluting. Maybe I just go real abstract and put it in a $7 leg. Because if I miss, I may as well miss at $7 rather than $2. And if I hit, I may as well hit at $7 rather than $2. Thoughts?
If it's the last leg, not the first one, I want to get to the last leg. And geez, I tell you what, if it's one of the clubs on the board this week, which we'll talk about who that is this week, the new team and club, but if imagine that was the case, Daisy, they'd be going for $100,000. I've floated a few ideas later in the year as well, and we still haven't signed these up. But there's a couple of ideas. If we are going cold, I've said, can we have a super round where we all have one propeller, each? We have 4 legs and we can run it through one game or something, just for more excitement. Because we are ice.
We can't get one, mate. Let's start that more
there's not
variables.
much risk involved because if you look at our track record, we're one from every 4 weeks.
Don't jump ship yet. We've got a long. We're going to stick with it.
Sorry, I was going to say your football club though, or your old football club. We need to make sure we distance you from that because you are starting to really insert yourself again.
Put them on the graveyard. St. Bernard's. We're sorry, but you'll be there later.
What type of dog was it, Tommy?
Bernard.
Saint Bernard.
But
No, my old mom. They are, and I don't think outside of probably Collingwood, they're probably in the top couple of informed teams in the competition with offense and defense. They're keeping teams to really low scores and then being able to score off the back of that, but. Watching this space, you spoke of Bailey Dale's record-breaking disposal count on the weekend. Now, you've delivered in the past with your guests, and so have you, Daisy, and I think it's time that I step up to the plate. So just hold on a sec. If my memory serves me correctly, we may have a special guest in Bailey Dale coming. So.
Oh, boy. You've slicked the link to him behind our back.
So
that's big.
Anyway, but back to the Dogs. They're an exciting team to watch, and none bigger than a Thursday night absolute blockbuster against the Cats down.
We'll talk about the Cats game in a second, but what they did to the Bombers was, I just thought the Bombers could at least scrap and fight, but they just blew them out the water, and they didn't even let them score. It was honestly
relentless.
It was the hardest watch you could ever have if you're an Essendon fan or just a fan of the game. But if you're a Dogs fan, it's as exciting as I've ever seen.
And I think there was 60 points before Essendon scored a goal. And the jeers, it'd be the most unfortunate feeling. Lucky that I wasn't a part of too many.
It's hard to keep a team to 9.5 points.
Yeah, it is.
So the defense and the offense is clicking.
The defense was always there calling the game. That was the most impressive part. They well drilled the way they took away time and space from the opposition at the ball carrier, but also the next position or possession that the ball was going to go to was so impressive. And there are some lesser likes that I think are playing really important roles. So hopefully we can ask, if you do have the man you're saying, we can ask him a few questions about that. But the Dogs right now, they are flying, and this Thursday night cannot wait.
Cannot come quicker.
Where were they on your power rankings?
I think they were in the abyss.
Oh, well,
they've really jumped out of that now, haven't they?
They've jumped. You know what? They've responded.
Yeah,
they've seen that power ranking.
They've put together 6 weeks of solid form, and I think there was probably a loss to Gold Coast in there, but they still played the right way. So, anyway, boys, have a look at the screens. Look who's come to join us.
You have pulled through.
Hopefully, you didn't hear us talking about him then. Geez, you're good.
No, welcome, Baz. Thank you so much for coming on, mate.
How you going, guys?
Good to see you, mate. Thank you for joining the program. Geez, while he looks sharp and he just continually delivers. Speaking of delivering, I want to talk to you about last week. I've got a few questions. So, boys, just hold your nerve. I'm going to just go peppering you here, Bailey. But Talk to me about halftime. Like, I don't know what it's like to come into the Sheds at halftime. I think you had nearly 30. What does it feel like to come in at halftime? And did you know how many possessions you had at halftime?
Yeah, obviously, I think I had 25 at halftime at Marvel. They put it up on the screen, so you always have a little look when you're jogging into the change room just to see what you're at. But yeah, when I saw I had 25, I was like, oh, might be a little sniff today, and almost got there, but not quite.
A little sniff, mate. I reckon I only had 25 in my career a couple of times, but I was a hack. Anyway, we keep moving. So 25, I mean, the brain would naturally go, I'm a chance for half ton here. At what point throughout the game, because you were absolutely smacking the Dons, it wasn't their best performance, but you guys are on fire. At what point in the game did you go, righto, I want the record and I want 50?
Probably about three-quarter time, same thing. I looked up on the scoreboard and had 39 next to the name and thinking, well, not too far away here. We're walking out for the centre bounce, and Lockie Bramble and Luke Cleary sort of came up to me like, you run, if you kick it to me and you run past, I'll give it back to you and we'll get you there today. But unfortunately fell a bit short, but it's still a pretty special night.
Did you hear the crowd? Because I went along and watched. Like, when you're on 47, 48, 49, the crowd was just up. And did you realise that they were following your possession tally?
Yeah, it was getting quite loud every time I got the ball. Obviously, I didn't know how exactly close I was. But, yeah, it was quite loud when I think I might have broken the record of Jack McRae's, which is quite nice. Sent him a little text after the game. But, I didn't know I was on 49 and just needing the one more, unfortunately.
And Bailey Williams has decided to kick it long down the line instead of going laterally to you? Have you spoken to him since?
Well, when it went out of bounds on the full, I sort of looked. I was like, he just has to kick it inside here. So I'm screaming for it. Buku Karmas was behind me, and he was basically just pointing at me, waiting for the truck to hit me. But he's decided to go on inside and hit Naughty up. And, as soon as he realised, he turned around and was like, oh, no, and had the hands on his head. But, we had a little chat after the game, and, we're still mates, which is good.
What other teammates do you blame? I watched the game and I was like, yeah, and I must say, mate, you're very fit. You were covering the ground better than anyone and you touched it 49 times. But late, there wasn't just him. Who else do you blame for not getting the 50?
I ran past Aaron Norton once or twice and Tim English kicked one over my head. So I won't hold it against them. We ended up scoring goals from both those plays. So it would have been nice, but as I said, it was still a pretty special night.
And I've got one more, and this is just more of a nuffy question. It's probably hard.
Do you just want to do a sit down and Lo and I'll go have a coffee or something?
It blows my mind. I've got one more. But do you feel disrespected when you walk in at halftime with 25 and they still don't put anyone on you?
Well, I prefer that than them putting someone on me. It is what it is. I guess they had their plans, but when we dominated so much throughout the game, you have to try a few different things. So we'll put it down to the boys. A 90-point win as well. It makes it a bit easier.
All right, I'll palm it off to Daisy and Wild, mate. I've got plenty more, but I'll let these boys have a go.
Back seat for a second, Tommy.
Well done, mate. 49's
Tommy's AFL show this year.
49's just crazy.
No. It is.
No, but Bailey, you touched, or Tommy touched on being followed around and having a negative forward on you. You've had that a bit throughout your career and more recently as well. Is there something that you're talking about behind closed doors about how to handle that and some ways to inject yourself in the game and to cope with sort of the more close attention that you're getting?
Yeah, it's probably happened more recently over the last couple of years. When someone's sort of following you around, you can find different ways to influence the game. I chat to my coaches about that and how I can still have an influence without even touching the ball and just doing the defensive things right and being able to set the ground up for my teammates. So, there's always sort of different tactics, but it's obviously always hard when someone's right behind you all day.
You've had your review since the game. From a team point of view, you guys are averaging 104 points per game for and really stingy with 78 points against. How happy is Bevo with the defensive side of your game? I had a look back at that and I thought it was as crisp a team defensive performance as we've seen all year.
Yeah, definitely, Days. We probably didn't start the year the way we would have wanted in terms of our defense. We probably leaked too many points, but the last 4 weeks, we've been a really stingy team. Our team defense has come back, being able to pressure sides. Our mids are getting in and, applying some really good pressure for us backs to sort of set up off. So, he's been really impressed with that part of the game, but to be able to also score 100 points, over the last few weeks, just shows how potent we are going forward. And our forwards are really firing at the moment, even with Sam Darcy out.
Yeah, and we talk about the defence. Like, the start of the year, you think Liam Jones is a lock that needs to play every week for us to win, and it shows probably the maturity of the group and the maturity of the back system.
You say we?
Sorry,
you're a fan now, mate. You're not there.
You weren't that on them at the start of the year. You're back on the we category.
That was the Bulldogs for a minute. Now they're just
the back six, but they're functioning obviously well, and Liam hasn't really found a way back into the side, so it does express the maturity of the side, not relying on him as our key defender. As the key defender. That's the second time I've flipped up.
The depth of our back six. I think we've rolled, 8 or 9 guys through there this year. So Luke Cleary's come in and played a role. Obviously, Jed Bustlinger came in a couple of weeks ago, played a role. And guys are just coming in when, they need to. So obviously, Lobby and Jod down there at the moment are sort of 2 key position players and both playing some really good footy. So it helps when those guys are intercepting. And then we got, JJ and myself and Lockie Bramble and these guys sort of running up the field and creating opportunities for the forwards.
The strength of a list is more so what is the bottom 6 players in it. And I think you guys and some of these guys aren't probably getting the recognition they deserve. Can you tell us a little bit about each of them as I fire through? Fraser, the big, strong midfielder.
Yeah, Fraser, obviously second year, really classy sort of player. I think, he's got such a big engine. He might have even, won our 2K at the start of the year. So he's got the tank and he's got the skills to sort of go with it. His time, when he has the ball in his hands, he looks like he has time and can make really good decisions. So he's having a really good year.
Dr. Davidson?
Davo, yeah, similar, just up and down on a wing. Played VFL and kicked some goals down there and won the medal for best young player. So, him being able to finish up forward is great for us as well.
Jimmy O'Donnell?
Yeah, Jimmy came in halfway through the year a couple of years ago and he's just been growing, obviously, coming from cricket, and his intercept game's been great. The last few weeks, he's really taken some massive steps there, and it's been good to see him progress.
And one that's been getting a little bit of heat, mainly from the corners, a bit of a stager for free kicks, but I love everything about what he's doing, this bloke. Latham Vandermeer.
Yeah, Vanders. He's quite niggly, Vanders. He plays a role for us every week, and he just gets up and down, annoys the opposition, and we value that so much internally. He probably doesn't get the praise outside as much, and obviously cops a little bit of hate here and there, but he plays such a valuable role, and we love what he does.
He'd be one of those blokes, I assume, that you love to play with, but if he was playing the defensive forward role on you, you'd want to take him to the drip tray and just bloody put his head in it.
Yeah, even at training in the preseason, he's run around on me a few times, and he just doesn't shut up. So you have to run away with him, or else he'll just keep chewing your ear off with his chat.
I've got one for you. Riley West last week, given the too small to Roberts. Tell me there's been a bit of banter in the change rooms about, has anyone just walked past him and gave him the same signal? Because that was, we'll talk about his form in a second, but that moment I found was just powerful. But, and the little man giving the little man, I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
You know how tall he is? He's on the record as 182, so 6 foot. He's 2 inches shy of 6 foot.
Yeah, he's very powerful, Riley. His bench press is unbelievable, and me and Taylor Dre were sort of in the centre square, and when he did that fend off, we both just looked at each other like, well, that was a big one. So there's been a little bit of chat about it, but hopefully he can just keep playing some really good footy, because he's played a massive role for us the last 4 weeks. He's been in some career best form, some would probably say.
He's coming out of the square like Fraser Garrick. He sits in there and just
sort of bench numbers too, apparently.
Yeah. One more, Buku, your housemate. He's a good man. I know you love your security cameras. No doubt you've been watching him fly through the door. Has his head been able to fit through the door lately? Because he's been on fire.
Yeah, he's having a great year, Book. You've probably done a bit of work with him, Tommy, over your time, but he's got his TikTok going at the moment. He's really trying to influence on that. So, he's found some form and he's starting to get a bit of a following now. So he's been good to live with.
He's been awesome.
And take us back, Bailey, because I do remember a cold Saturday morning when we were both in rehab and you received bad news on bad news with your foot. I think you were going through a navicular problem there. And you were probably at a point in time with your career where it was a little bit grey as to where it was going. That was another setback. You couldn't find any continuity with your footy. Can you just take us through those moments? And then obviously the progression from there was, you started playing forward and couldn't really click either. And then, Bevo threw the dice and put you in defence, and then you found your groove, and now you're a superstar back into the competition. But just in those stages, can you talk us through your mindset and how you got through that?
Yeah, there's probably been a few stages of my career. Obviously, early played a few games, and then had the foot injury and missed a bit of footy, and then came forward, started coming in and played some forward, and then you took my role in 2020 and you started firing up down forward. And at one stage there, playing on Gold Coast Oval too in the hub, you start to have some thoughts about where you're at. So, just want to have a really good preseason at the end of 2020 and obviously made the switch back through Bevo very late in that preseason and sort of haven't looked back since. I think the role at halfback suits the way I play, being able to use my skills, run and get up the ground. So, the switch has been great.
Now, we have to ask you the question. This Thursday night becomes a massive game, not only because it's two good sides and you guys are in form the same as the Cats, but Baz Lenker, this is the talking point. What is going on? Were you mates with him when he was at the club? Take us inside the four walls on this one.
They're similar people, you and Bailey are very similar operators at the moment.
They got the same name.
Obviously, there's been a few words over the last few weeks between a few guys, but look, he's obviously a very good player and he's playing a role for them at the moment that's really critical. So we'll have to put some work into him to stop sort of the way he goes about it. But we've got a lot of other guys in that mid group that can go through and hopefully have a bigger impact than what he will, and we can get the win. It'll be nice.
The talk is it silent treatment or is Liver going to suplex this bloke into the ground at the start? What are we getting? Give us a little bit of a hint. Is Riley West going to fend this man off or are we going to get the silent treatment? Because sometimes the silent treatment works. What are we going to see?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. Liver's capable of anything, and there's obviously a few guys that were mates with Baz that I don't know if they'll chirp him or if they'll just give him nothing. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, as I said, we can get the win and that's as good as we'll get.
There will be fireworks any way you look at it, and it's Thursday night, it's prime time. It's my must-watch this week, so we will get to it in more detail later on. But final one from me, let's talk about duck hook. Obviously, you're very passionate about your golf, so is Daisy.
Good man.
So can you just talk us through that origination? I know you're with Oscar Baker and Tony Scott in creating that page. Yeah, but talk to us about the evolution of what you're doing there in the golfing sphere.
Yeah, so we just honestly just go out and just play golf and film what we do. We try to get a few of the other boys on around the club and just have a bit of banter and a bit of fun. And the page is slowly growing. We're going to try to get a few big guys on. Hopefully Daisy might come on and have a crack with us. But
bring you
we just love playing golf. There's a lot of guys at the club that enjoy it, and it always creates a bit of banter around the club. So
give us your top five golfers. I know you want to put yourself at number one. What are your handicaps?
Big Tim English. He's off 2 at the moment, so he's probably the best at the club. I'm off 3, and then Tony and Bakes, they're off about 6 and 7. So there's a few guys that are all sort of around the mark, and we love our golf. And most days off, we're getting out there and having a hit, and it's always pretty competitive.
Geez, Tony's improved. I've played with him in the old when they were doing the old Clutch and Co photo shoots. He wasn't that good back in the day. He's really come a long way.
Yeah, he's on the grind, Tony. He loves getting down to the Nationals. Says he's always a member down there and has a bit of a flex. But I think he's almost a full-time golfer, part-time footballer at times, the way he goes about it. But he's a good man, Tony, and he's found some form recently, which is good.
Are you playing at any particular track that you need to give a plug or some sticks? Anything you need to get out there? I know how this game works. Thanks to TaylorMade.
We're still looking for a sponsor for the page. So if any of the big golf brands want to jump on board, we'll happily accept. But no sort of tracks. We sort of get around everywhere. like to try play as many courses as we can.
And just take us through, Rory Lobb has his own page, is an avid golfer as well. Now, there's a bit of friendly competition within the four walls of the club about your page versus his page and both your golf journeys.
Yeah, I think Rory's page is dead at the moment. So he's focusing on the personal brand. But yeah, Duck Book, obviously. There's a little bit of a rivalry there, but we've shaken hands, and he comes on our channel now and then, and we try to get on his and spread the love between everyone.
Well, we've got our Aces golf show, mate, so make sure you get you boys on for the US Open. We missed the PGA, but we'll get you boys on and we'll promote the house down. I can see you getting you'd be silly if you're TaylorMade or Callaway. We've got to throw all the other brands in there, Daisy.
No, they're giving me
even if you hit the golf ball like, whoa, it doesn't really matter when you're having 49 on the weekend. You should be getting whatever sponsorship you like. So leave that with us. I reckon, Daisy, you can intro him after this.
I'll take you boys up to Rosebud and we'll get something sorted. But on our man, Wal, are you surprised that he's just dominating the world post-football? The best-dressed man. Was he always a bit of a flog when he was at the footy club dressing like you, thinking he's Richie Rich?
He was never underdressed, that's for sure. So rocking up in the collared top and the work boots and all of that. But, it doesn't surprise me he's fallen into the media sort of side of footy post-career. He's always been a good talker.
What was your favourite memory of Wal as we close up? What's the one, just your best memory of Wal at the club?
Honestly, the way he just got around the boys. He on a couple of Mad Mondays, he loved a bit of a boogie. So hopefully he doesn't have to get those moves out anytime soon.
Thanks for your time, mate.
He's starting to sweat.
I'm getting a little bit nervous. Well, mate, thanks so much for jumping on. Honestly, you're a champion and you're a superstar of the competition, and we wish you all the best. Thursday night footy, it doesn't get any bigger. And, look, we want fireworks, mate. I know you're at halfback and you'll be having your 49, but if you speak to Libba, tell him to just pull those socks up above the white shoes he wears these days, and we want to see a Batista bomb just before the start of the game. We want some fireworks.
I'll get in his ear. Yeah, thanks, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, boys, that is as good as it gets. That was a great interview. Longer than we normally have, but I haven't heard the great man speak.
Good.
But 49 disposals. I just want to ask you straight off the bat, Daisy, what's the most you ever had in an AFL game?
34 a couple of times, I think.
Yeah, I had 37.
Amazing. Well done.
You had more than 25 5 times, I just saw on AFL tables.
Is that right? I can't remember. I
You
think
got
I
the
had
30
29
once?
or 30 once. Got the Brownlow vote, I think, with 30 once against Essendon's Asada top-up. So.
My favourite part of his 49 possessions was the tackle count. He just had one.
Oh, no tackles?
Just the one. Just one tackle.
I am disappointed
You can't tackle yourself, though. When you got your footy.
If I had more time, I'd get Naughty on the line, and I just want to ask him, why did you not give it to the great man? You're up by how many points? They win by 90. Just
90
kick
points.
it backwards if you have to give him 50.
But you talk about important stats. He got a kilometre of metres gained too. Now that's raising the bat of
14th play
Seriously,
in the
guys.
history of the game to have a
I
kilometre.
asked him, and it's a pretty silly question on reflection to ask him, did you want someone tagging you? Clearly he doesn't. But it is a bit strange, a coach not putting some work into someone that's had 25 at halftime.
The
Or is
game
it
was
because
done, though, mate.
But do you just at least put some, because he's leading you to the ball. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? At least he takes you to the ball and then you can spread offensively off it. It does stagger me when they let players just do what they want.
Putting a coach's hat on, you'd go through your forward line as the Essendon coach, and there'd be a player that's not having any influence on the game. That's
In
not
that forward
following-
line, there were 6 of them.
Yeah, so you pick one. Pick one that is a little bit more determined to just set a role and say, calm its influence down.
Kako is going to be a star, right?
Yep.
He's getting no service.
Yep.
So why not just put him next to Dale, and then as soon as we win the ball, just go for it, mate.
Mhm.
And it's more of a lesson. I want you to run and learn the patterns of this halfback. I don't know. I just thought, I couldn't believe they just let him run around and have 25 in the first half and 24 in the second half. It blows my mind. I know there's a few kick-ins in there, but it blows my mind how you don't just make a little adjustment.
They play again in round 20. So if I'm Brad Scott, you're probably sitting there at halftime going, well, we're not going to win this game. Is it worth showing our hand as to, what we need to do? Do we put a Kako? Do we put someone defensively?
Or do we back by then? I reckon he'll go to him.
Or do we just let him run his own show and then be like, well, good
You
luck?
can't let him run his own show.
What about the other Scott? What about Chris Scott? What do you do this week?
That is a very good question. Brian Myers is my answer to that. And they did it the other week. Brian Myers played on Lockie Whitfield. Lockie Whitfield, a similar player to Bailey Dale. Very offensive, but Brian Myers, some real smart forward craft, and when to release and be dangerous and make the opposition's best halfback rebounder accountable. I like that.
You boys are getting toey. Let's just keep recapping last week before we get to this week.
Sorry, I'm up and about, mate.
I know, it's a big week.
I have got like football nuffy head on.
Are the Giants in danger of missing the 8 after last week against the Dockers?
No.
I think there's too much quality in that side. They'll get too many wins. They'll be disappointed with how they're going. It's a big week against Carlton this week, which is, again, on paper, they should get the job done. But
Toby's 250th game. Big shout out to our man TFG, who has the TFG Tuesday podcast with us. It's a massive game.
It's a massive game.
And I was thinking about it. A lot of his closest mates or players that have been there from the start, they're not going to be there with him. They're injured. Even just seeing another young star and Finn Callahan go out with a shoulder. So the Giants are going to need to find a lot to get up for the great man, which I think they can. But it's Carlton. They're going to be angry as well because they're blowing these leads.
The Giants were disappointing because the game at the start, when it was transition up and back and the tsunami looked great, as soon as Freo got it into an arm wrestle, they were nowhere. And I reckon if you're big Kingers up there and you're looking at that side, you'd be really disappointed upon review that it was almost as soon as they were harder in the contest, we didn't have any option or any plan B. So no doubt, and that is something you can go to work on, obviously, just knowing that if the ball's in the contest, your shape, your endeavour to go in and win it. And that's what they'll get this week against Carlton, who are the number one clearance side in the competition. So if it does turn into that game, and we saw that a bit with Sydney, when it was clearance and sort of in that mould, Sydney couldn't really score. As soon as it got out of it in that last quarter, Sydney able to score. So it's going to be a good match because the Giants obviously want it free-flowing. Again, I'm looking forward and far too excited. But the Blues want it in that arm wrestle.
And then they've got Richmond and Port to come the next couple of weeks. So they're 2 wins that they should bank, with Port being so inconsistent with their form and obviously Richmond having their struggles this year as well. So, look, it's a big week. If it sets them up for a month and they can get through this period of having not the cattle to choose from through injuries and things, it'll set up the back half of the year. But they're just going. They're still in the 8, so you can't write them off just yet, but things have to change.
They got St Kilda, North Melbourne, West Coast as well as part of their run home.
The Giants?
So, yeah.
That's a nice run.
There's a couple of nice little ones
schedule.
within that back half.
Yes. Well, that's good to know. Huge pulse coming out of the Melbourne Football Club. What about the boil-over against the Lions and Jakey Melsham and the old boys just getting it done? That was... I must say to you boys, I let you down last week. See that Melbourne jersey behind you?
Yeah.
That was gifted to me by Sharpie, who used to play for the Lions. So it was his redemption game. And
Jeremy?
I said, no, not Jeremy. And I said to him, you keep going. And I,
Harry?
Yes, Harry. And I said to him, I'll give that jersey away if you win, the next game. And I forgot to mention it last week because I thought they were no chance.
Oh, you looked at the schedule and
I
said,
saw they were playing Brisbane at the Gabba off a draw with North. I thought they were no chance.
You need to start giving a bit of this stuff away, mate. The set's too packed.
Well, we're going to give away that D's jersey. I was going to work out how we do it. But back to that one, that was a shock.
That's a shock. But Petrarca playing well, Oliver starting to hit his stripes again, and Maxi still leading from the front. They've still got so much quality in there.
Can they be the team that gets out of your abyss and pushes for that 8th spot, Daisy? Or do you think that was just a one-off?
They can be. There's no doubt. And there are sort of that 9th to 14th where they find themselves, Adelaide probably in it a bit as well, but it becomes dip and 5. It's almost a free hit. You may as well try some things. Now there's going to be sides going to work on them. I still don't see them being better than your Carlton, Essendon, Fremantle and Sydney, just as it is, but, happy to be proven wrong. And the thing is, as you say, they've got themselves back now into that 4 and 6 ledger. So they pinch a couple, they get it back to even at the halfway point. You never know, but well done for steering the ship. I'm still not overly confident in what they do back end.
I still worry about their goal scoring capabilities and their power.
I must say, though, Jake Melsham is a lead up there, pressure-wise, leadership, and does kick goals. But also, Bailey Fridge come alive. Pickett, he's a machine. They got Sydney this week. We'll talk about this week, but that is a massive game. You think the winner of that is the team that will press for that 8th spot after a slow start. Speaking of Port Adelaide, Ken Hinkley and Carr, that transition handover period, they said they do it at the end of the year. Do you think it's maybe time to just do it? because they are looking like with the horny one going down with a hammy, it's only going to get a little bit tougher for them. They're playing Fremantle in Perth. If they lose again by a large margin, is it become a bit of a waste just coaching the end of the year with no future there?
91-point loss to the Pies. This is when they're losing, they're getting smacked. 90 points against the Western Bulldogs 2 weeks ago. Go down to Adelaide in a close one in the showdown, and then 76 to Geelong. I don't think you gain anything by putting the new man in charge just yet. If you're going to lose back half of the season and you're actually not good enough with what you've got at the minute, those results probably indicate that. Does giving Kari the main seat, and if they have another one of these games that they lose by 10 goals or more, does that help him or does that add more pressure onto him? Because you're sitting there going, okay, well, we've seen a little bit of what you do and you're losing by 10 goals. Are you any better? I'm not sure what you gain from it. I understand your own game plan, but can you change that much from a Kenny Hinkley in season?
Yeah, and I think, just patience with this one. You check in with Kenny in a month's time when it's about round 15. Are you still happy? You're still comfortable? Do you want to play out the year? Because, there's a structure and they make decisions like this. And I don't like the instability of making such significant change when you have a plan. So stick to the plan, but it's on pipes.
Jeez, that shirt's tight. Like in a good way,
good,
though.
Nick, Wall.
Yeah, you are in
Thanks,
good.
guys.
Anyone listening, Daisy's just playing with his pecs.
What are you benching?
My chesticles.
The chesticles. I've never heard that one before. Oh, boy.
How do you want me to answer that one?
What you're benching?
Yeah.
Just an honest answer?
Just a number.
Enough.
110.
Rips off.
Oh, boy.
No,
Sorry.
but
I got distracted. Sorry.
No, you're
really
right.
rattled him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everything at home going well? I feel like you haven't been getting enough compliments because you've been rattled with that one from Dave.
No, I was in the middle of diagnosing the problems. I was in the middle of diagnosing a problem with Port. And now I'm talking about my body.
From Port because no one really cares about Port this year. The other team, Adelaide Crows and the Pies. Sorry, boys.
No,
but I just think we should keep moving because Adelaide couldn't get it done again against the Pies, but it lived up to another close game. These two, end of the year, you can see it happening, can't you?
Yeah, no, it was another classic at the G, and it went right down to the wire. I thought Adelaide were going to come again and again, but they just fell short. But Pies, testament to how that footy club is being run at the minute. They get it done week after week, no matter the occasion. So I'm riding high on the Pies to continue to play the way they are playing and be hot favourites to take it out at the end of the year.
I've got one more for you, boy. I've got two more. Just really quickly. Luke Beveridge in talks for a contract extension. How many years would you give him?
No, I'd wait. He spoke really well in his presser the other day about stability within the football department. Now, I think just because they're playing well, does that mean you have to overlook everything within the football department? And that answer is no. So be patient. Continue talks with him. He's got no manager, so it's a direct conversation with Luke himself, which is, you've heard of that, haven't you?
I hadn't, no.
4% commission. It's a lot of money.
No, but I think what he's committed to is to get the playing on track, which he has done. They can continue this form. There'll be a time when they sit down in the next month or two, whether it's the buy or post the buy.
They've
talk
come
about
out and
the
said
future.
that they're starting now.
Yeah, they're starting now. But I think, again,
He's going to just be happy to.
He's happy. Well, the Peter Jackson review that went on within the football department.
The suits.
Yeah, within the suits, within the Peter Jackson suits. This was part of their methodology going forward, to let it play out, to make sure there is stability in the performance side of things and within the football department. So they've got to be true to their word and let it play out. And if they continue to play the way they're playing and there's stability in the football department, you'll see a longer term contract around 4 years, I reckon.
Great insight.
It was a great insight. I asked for a quick answer and how many years, but I'm glad that you did give that insight because the context behind the scenes I didn't know about. And, he's got a bit of plums there just saying, I'll put it on hold. Playing hard to get, old Bevo. We might get a couple extra zeros on the end of it doing that. One more. Tasmania. Head coach, favourite right now.
There's a couple of names being thrown around, Chris Scott being one of them, Ken Hinkley the other, all tremendous candidates.
But if you had pick of the litter from all the current AFL coaches, now you take into account that those coaches like Chris Scott, who took over a team of Geelong players that were already successful.
Any coach,
because like you said, the elements of a new club, you've got so much to deal with. There's so many layers of like you said, bringing in the youth, but trying to mix that experience. Who would be the best candidate currently if you had your pick of the litter?
If I'd pick a litter, I'd go to Sam Mitchell. I think, you look at the Hawthorn list, that's probably not too dissimilar with what you could build in terms of your own draft picks, some young high-end talent within a few years. That brand of football they're playing, that's the future. It's no longer your defence wins your games. It is now a bit of that. Defence starts your offence is where the trend is going within the game. And he's been the one that's come in and managed that, but it's been authentic in how he's done it. The rest are just going to follow now. So I think if it was my answer, it'd be Sam Mitchell.
I think I'd go Chris Scott. I want to set up a nice foundation down there where they have a similar culture to Geelong.
Right.
I know for a fact that he sets up his assistants very well and they have a bit more control of the group and I guess the line meetings and all that kind of stuff. I think he sits back a little bit. I like that. And then I would make sure that they recruit homegrown talent. That is the two things that I'd be looking for. So that culture piece being down there in Tassie so that they want to stay there and it's an environment like no other or similar to Geelong from what you hear. And then you got to get that Tassie talent. So anyone that's from Tassie that's a really good player, you got to get them in your building because they won't leave. You speak to anyone from Tassie, they absolutely adore the place. So that's exactly what I would do. Well,
yeah, I'd go north to Chris Fagan. So what he did with Brisbane and the turnaround from bottom 2 on the ladder, 18th, 17th, 18th, 18th. What he's done from a cultural perspective. You touched on culture before, but it's about wanting players to stay and buying into that and buying into the future. Whether he's the person that's going to take them up the journey up the ladder to playing finals, I'm not sure. But to get a really strong foundation of players that want to stay there and want to build something for the future, I reckon he's your man because he's all about family and relationships, and that is probably the most important ingredients in starting up a club.
Tell you what, the old bones down there in the cold mornings at Tassie wouldn't quite be the same as the warm mornings of Brisbane.
Bit of a WD-40 to get going, you reckon?
Tricky down there, oh boy.
Well, Fags is at Hawthorn for a bit. I'm sure he can handle it. Righto, let's turn our attention to round 11 AFL. Sir Doug Nicholls' round continues, and some of the jerseys have been elite. Must say last week, the game in Darwin, we didn't even talk about it, but the Suns holding out the Hawks was one of the best games I've seen all year. Let's talk about this week. What are your must-watch games? I'll start with you, Wal.
Yeah, and we've mentioned a lot about the Dogs and the Cats, but it is a must-watch. It's a Thursday night. It's a blockbuster. Both teams are going to the game 6 and 4. So they're both at similar spots in the ladder. Last 9 games, Geelong have won 7 down at GMHBA. So they're probably leaning towards favouritism just purely on where it's being played. But they're coming off a smashing of Port Adelaide. They won the midfield battle. They're so efficient with the ball at the moment. On the weekend, both teams had similar possessions, yet they won by 70-odd points. So Jeremy Cameron with the day out with 7 goals. Our man, Ollie Dempsey, kicking 2 goals from the wing again. He's pushing he's making his claim to be the All-Australian wingman. And we touched on Bailey Smith throughout the show, but continues to take the game on, play with flair, and absolutely dominate. And we go over to the Dogs camp. Look, again, we've mentioned they're absolutely flying. They're the hottest team outside of Collingwood at the minute. Their stars are flying. The underlings are flying. And the role players, we mentioned Riley West, Matt Kennedy, and even Buku Karmas kicking 3 goals on the weekend. These guys are playing the way that Bevo wants them to play. So you put Darcy back in that team and it's a very formidable team come finals time. So expect fireworks, expect one of the games of the season. Again, who wins? I think on form, you have to go with the Dogs because of the 6-week patch they've put together. But I just can't wait for the fireworks. That first bounce, what Bonty does he raise the bar again?
Bonty.
Yeah, Marcus, I should call him.
Marcus.
And then how Libba reacts, how Jeremy Cameron plays up the ground. There's stars everywhere. I'm tipping if you're driving up from Melbourne, I'd leave quite early because it's going to be a stacked stadium. A lot of people going to that. So, look, it's my must-watch. I'm tipping the Dogs. I reckon they'll get the job done, but it'll be an absolute brilliant display of the game.
I reckon we should try get PointsBet to create a market for Libba to wrestle Bailey in the first 5 minutes.
Might be too readily manipulated.
Yes.
Generally makes it tough to do.
Do you think Libba will start something at the start? He's been very quiet in the media saying, in fact, he hasn't given it any airtime, but sometimes that means he's got something planned.
Well, you would have had these moments, though, when you're like, nothing's planned, you're sort of wandering out, and you sort of look at someone and you're just like, nah, come here, have some of this. Well, like you just sort of get something in your brain goes, nah, actually, no, I wasn't planning this, but you're done. Let's go.
Well, Baz might fire the first shot.
He might. But those themes that you go take into a game. Go and bump their star player. Yeah. You do it for the first 1 minute and then it goes to the back and you never do it again.
Yeah.
Libba is not token. I remember with Heath Shaw one day, he hated him playing with his ears. So throughout the whole game, we clipped it up. Every time he went near Heath Shaw, he put his finger in his ear. and it annoyed the absolute shit out of him. But you talk about
Sure,
it
he
not
would've
being
hated
token.
that.
Anybody would have hated that. That's so freaking
but sure,
annoying.
it would have been
Yeah.
going, what's going on
But
here?
Libba, whether it's the first bounce, the 14th bounce, or middle of the last, he will be consistently, because he is a dog with a bone, pardon the pun, he's the Dogs, but he'll be so determined to carry that out for the whole game, and that's what makes him a good player, because he sticks to task.
Maybe a bit of cat and mouse.
Bit of cat and dog.
Bailey Smith.
Sorry, keep going.
So I was going to say Bailey Smith into second outright favourite in the Brownlow and points, but up into $5.50.
I'm really interested to see his influence on this game. I honestly think he's going to get tagged and it's going to be a full team effort, and this might be his toughest game of the year. If he can dominate this game, then he deserves to be right where you just said, Daisy, but I think this will be one of his toughest assignments yet.
The Dogs don't really tag though.
I reckon Ed Richards will start on him and then everyone will check him and not allow him to get if he's out in space, they're going to not let him get the cheapies.
You like Ed Richards? You're a massive fan.
Absolutely.
So Bailey head-to-head with Ed.
Yeah.
Who's going to take out the chocolates in the weekend?
Head to head, I'd say Baz Lenker for the importance, the run and carry meters in the Geelong side. Yeah.
Because
there's not many that can do that. There's a lot around that midfield of the Dogs who can find the footy.
Ed's in career best form.
He's a bloody
he's
good
a
player.
star. Yeah. And just effective forward of the ball. Like, score involvements, number one in the comp at the minute.
Yeah.
So they're getting a really good return for his use.
It's in Geelong. So, the bookies have got this $1.95 for the Dogs, a little bit of juice there, and $1.85 for Geelong. Who are you tipping?
Well, I'm the Dogs. Yeah, mentioned that before.
Daisy?
I'm going with the Cats with little the GMHBA factor is so real. The numbers there. So I'm going with them.
Righto, Daisy. Who's your must watch?
Friday night footy, MCG, Dreamtime at the G. The Dons got smacked off the park by your Dogs, and Richmond, they've been pretty solid the last couple of weeks. They are hard, they're tough. They bring effort and intensity, which you probably can't say that Essendon brought on the weekend. This should be a good game. I think it's going to be an arm wrestle, but the Bombers, they just have a little bit more class and structure once that effort and intensity falls away from the Tigs. The Bombers in a close-ish one for me in that one, but cannot wait. Dreamtime at the G, one of the special nights on the calendar.
Well said, Daisy. It is. It's going to be a massive night. I'm actually going to go. What's your thoughts on this? I actually snagged a couple of tickets from our man here, Jai Caldwell, who has had 25 disposals in 4 of his last 5 at the G, according to our best mate, that stat mate it is. If you haven't downloaded the app, make sure you do. Jai Caldwell's hooked me up with some tickets, and they've just come through the phone earlier. Level 4.
Yeah, so this is where you text
There's
back,
4
Jai.
levels. These are club tickets. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Level 4. I said, what are we feeding seagulls?
Where's that?
I think you're on the roof at the G. I think I'm feeding the seagulls with some chips. I mean, level 4, I don't think.
I think that's the area where you run into the open goal and try and put it, yeah?
Is that
try
where
and
you
hit
have
the
to bring
top.
your binoculars?
I'm bringing my cousin, mum and dad, they're, all Essendon fans.
How old are
And
your
my mum,
parents?
she has the prescription lenses on, the Rixies, and I don't think she can see that far from level 4. I think I'm going to have to purchase a few.
There's a bundle of level 1 seats that you hand out to your tried and true.
They can't be throwing families up on level 4, can they?
Well, it's a big game. How many? A crowd of 80,000 they expecting on a
They're
dream
sitting on the
time?
home side as well.
No, it's just what I'm talking.
You know what? Nah, Jai's done you filthy there.
Jai Boy's done me filthy,
He's
I reckon.
just say, you guys got any tickets? They don't have to be good ones. Tommy Sheridan. Yeah.
Has it got GA on it, or have you got a designated seat?
It says the club membership ones. It's the legit. So I just saw when I added it to my wallet. I saw
Have you
level
given him
4.
the feedback? Is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I did. I said, what are we feeding seagulls? I did give him the feedback. Anyway, keep going, Daisy. So,
No, I'm done. So Bombers win in a close-ish one for me.
love it. I actually couldn't split it. I just want to put more attention on a Toby Green's 250th, and a big shout out to the great man. He's a good mate of mine, and he's the way he attacks the game. He's got more fines than anyone, but he's special, and he's going to need to do something special. 11th v 8. It's a huge game for both clubs, so I've got my eyes on that one. I'm going to be at that game, and it's a unique one. It's at 12:35, and then there's another game at Marvel later that night with North hosting Collingwood. Yeah, there's a double header at Marvel, so that's interesting. I didn't realise that when I looked at the schedule, but I mean that game. Then you got Hawks Brisbane, and then the other ones that I really like is this Melbourne Sydney game where it's just going to be a huge one. So they're the 3 that I just wanted to skim over. But the juicy one is just the Suns, $1.60 against the Saints. I know that's at Marvel on a Sunday, Arva, but the Suns are flying. The Saints are coming back from Perth. They just got done by West Coast. You'd feel like that's the best juice of a head-to-head you'll see this weekend. Could be wrong. Have been wrong.
Just on that, I think it's player appreciation time. Jackie Higgins, Oh, mate.
Second in the Coleman at the middle.
Second in the Coleman, 28 goals on the season. Look, he's, as a small forward, there's a part of you that needs to be overconfident, a little bit arrogant, a little bit puffing your chest, but you've got to back it up. And we know in yesteryear, Charlie Cameron had that patch where he was flying. We loved the motorbike. We've got Riley West who's on the verge of, doing the two. So there's these characters within this small forward sort of position coming out. Now, he's one that's been the funny-go-lucky, happy-go-lucky 1,000 minutes a second kind of guy for the past couple of years, but he's really now hitting his straps. And you talk about All-Australian, well, he has to be a lock kicking that kind of return as a small forward. Now the challenge is to him because Saints aren't really going to be in every game, but to continually have an output of kicking goals and having impact is a challenge ahead of him. But I'm loving what he's doing, and this is appreciation for him of what he's achieved thus far.
Well done, Wal. I love when you bring up the appreciation mentions, and he definitely deserves it. But that game I skimmed over just earlier, the Hawthorn-Brisbane game's probably the one, 4th v 2nd. It's going to be at the MCG. A few years ago, it was all about Brisbane not winning there, and they've definitely put those people to sleep. Just a quick tip on that one, boys.
Hawks are your favourites, which is interesting. Just back on the Jackie Higgins one, PointsBet have put up a small man Coleman. So you have to be under 190 centimetres. So if you go through the list of Colemans, it's the leaders there. You've got Ben King, Jesse Hogan, Jeremy Cameron either side of him, all the way down to Waterman. It's all the big boys. And the only other one under 190 in the top 15, I think, is Jamie Elliott. So there is the Coleman there for the small men. He's currently your favourite, Jackie Higgins, at $1.85, so make sure you jump on the PointsBet app if that market interests you whatsoever. I don't see why the Hawks have gone up as short as they have in this one. Brisbane head-to-head becomes a really decent enough proposition for me here.
Has that moved off the back of their loss on the weekend, do you reckon?
It would have, and no doubt a bit of the MCG factor, how well the Hawks play there.
Week prior, so their form the last two is not great, but you'd think they respond.
And Brisbane have lost the last 5 to Hawthorn.
Wow.
So there's
there's your layers of why it's so short.
But in saying that, I'll happily have a piece of Brisbane at that.
Yeah.
Statmate has been our best mate, and I'll be looking to them this week. It's time to talk about the Propeller boys. Have you got your Propeller bets locked in? Because I'll start with mine this week. And the reason I'll start is I've done some deep reflection. Last week I said Jezza, Cameron, Stengel. You know what? I looked at the odds before locking it in. I saw a little bit more juice this week, keeping it simple. And I've made sure to cross-reference with our best mates, and that is Statmate. And everything I'm thinking, when you said you can feel it?
Yes.
Zach Merritt, 30 disposals is just the first thing that come to mind. The weather's going to be a bit slippery. They don't really tag Richmond. They just go head-to-head. I've got Zach Merritt just dominating this game, and I'm looking at on Statmate. He's averaging 33.5 disposals per game in his last 7 versus Richmond. So I thought, look, I'm going to live and die by the sword. 30 plus. I reckon he'll have 35, but I'm going to just go with 30 and you get $2 flush right there. So, boys, I'm just going to kick it off this week. I'm not going to kick it off. I think Daisy might be kicking it off on a Thursday, but Friday night, I've got something for you all.
That was measured.
That
I think
good.
You got your stats up there. He's a star.
We need measure. We need to win. We're going to spin that thing in a second, but we need to win.
I'm going to be quite clinical and serious here as well. Darcy Fogarty, it's $2 to kick 3 or more. The play against the Eagles, who obviously a bit down on defence. McGovern now, a bit of sad news as he's entered the concussion protocols, but I think they're going to kick a big score. It's at Adelaide Oval. Fogg's in rare form. 3 goals. He should take care of that within the first half, I reckon. Just the way that Adelaide are scoring and the way that he's playing and owning his position. So you get an even $2 for 3 goals for Darcy Fogarty, and he is going to kick them.
I've gone with the Thursday night, and I know
no, Daisy.
I went off field before I remembered which game it was going to be. And I've gone with Jeremy Cameron to kick 12 or more goals. $46 it is with points. No, that is a joke. I'm going with Jeremy Cameron to kick 3 or more. It's $2 even. It makes sense. We sit there. I'll be cheering. That'll be done by halftime. I wouldn't be surprised if he kicks the first 2 inside 20 seconds. That'll be done at halftime. Everyone will be going, yay, Daisy, you're the best. And then the pressure over to you guys. There's my $2 is Jeremy Cameron to kick 3 or more.
Well, I like this. Jeremy Cameron, the big fog, and then Zachy Merritt, who's
on the disposal market. I'm nervous.
Well, it's going to be wet, and he's going to be around the ball.
He's a star.
So then we put
he's one though. He's one that will respond. Like you talk about A1s. He's the guy.
He got sent to full forward because they wanted to just make sure he didn't get hurt.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Put the cue in the rack.
by the way, send us your BSB because we sent you some money to put on the propeller and we lost and we need to top the account up again. So we'll do that again because this is the week. This is the week, boys. I actually I can't wait to see which club we land on. I want to give a huge shout out. Ready, boys? Give it a little drum roll this week. The new club entering the propeller is going to be the Bo Morris Football Club. It's the Sharks. It's a great logo. Congratulations, guys. You're on the board. Can you go 1 from 1 like St. Bernard's? I think it's time to give it a spin, boys, because I'm feeling it.
I think,
I don't know who's spinning it anymore.
Just rock off or something, but let's just get this show on the road. Here we go. The propeller is about to be spun by Daisy Thomas this week. Week 11 AFL. The winner will be whoever it lands on. Give it a spin, Daisy. Here we go. The propeller is off and running. This week's winner is going to be the Knox Football Club. Geez, Port Melbourne Colts and Riddles Creek are stiff. That's 2 weeks in a row. Congratulations, guys. Knox Football Club. Let's get him on the line. Benny the Butler, flick that number through. We'll give him a call and get him to lock someone in. Hopefully they lock in a late game. Let's see what they've got. But we've gone early, so we're going to have the weekend to watch their game, and it's going to be exciting. This has got to be the week, boys, and I'm feeling it. We need a win. I don't want to go to the end of the year and not have one at least. So, look, it's been a bit great run sheet. I think Bailey Dale, thank you so much for organising well. He was enormous. You guys have been enormous. And speaking of enormous, State of Origin is
the rugby league.
Yeah,
this gets me up. We need to have
the rugby league.
We've got an NRL show, and if you haven't subscribed, you should because it's elite. State of Origin is one of the best sporting events of the year. You guys Queenslanders or New South Wales fans?
Queensland. Yeah.
We
as
all
a
are,
Victorian, you're sort of grown up to not like New South Wales.
And it was half the Melbourne Storm team there.
Yeah, correct.
So it's pretty much us all Queenslanders versus our mob up in Sydney that are all New South Wales. So there's something on the line here. Obviously, what are you going to go with? If you do realise that PointsBet's running a little special here. If you have a little head-to-head bet, head-to-head bet, and your team leads at the break, which is obviously halftime, you'll be paid out as a winner.
Right.
Obviously, you need to check your account for personalised max stake limits, but that is what we call being built different from our friends PointsBet.
Nice.
So just get on the little cheeky Queenslanders just to head-to-head, and hopefully they're up at half-time, boys.
Wednesday week?
Yeah, I think it is. He asked me details, I didn't check.
Okay.
While we're on the Origin, Campbell Brown, I've already mentioned this, but he's got this theory, State of Origin Game 1, no scoring inside the first 5 minutes. He reckons it's one of his favourite markets. So he reckons it's just chaos and no one can get through anyone. Yeah. So it's always one that I like to bring up for Game 1 every year.
Shout out to the Dogs.
But Queenslanders, look out.
Queenslander.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got, boys.
Well done. Good show.
Great show.
Well done. Good guess, Wal. Outstanding. We're flying.
We are flying.
Anything else this weekend? Anything exciting?
Not really. It's just another big week of footy. We mentioned off the top of the show the amount of things that are happening across the whole landscape of the football of AFL. It's just exciting to be a part of. You know, we're middle of May or nearly end of May. It's getting colder, boys. It's been a cold week in the mornings.
It's getting colder.
But we're due. We're in drought. We are.
Yeah. There's a drought down here at Roller Media. Oh, that's all I've got this week. Everyone that tunes into the Aces AFL show, we love your support. Make sure you check out our other podcasts. As we said, State of Origin starting next week. And our team up there in New South Wales are doing amazing work with our NRL show. Well, boys, that's all we've got. Thank you to everyone. Subscribe, share this to a friend, and we'll see you same time next week right here on American Aces. Cheers.
Offside. It's the biggest rivalry in Australian sport, State of Origin. And at PointsBet, if you place a head-to-head bet on Game 1 and your team is up at halftime, you win. That's right. Back the shield-holding New South Wales Blues or the Maroons, and if they go into the break ahead, get paid out early as a winner. Check your account for personalised max stake limits. PointsBet. Built different.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.